Hey guys, so this is your screencast for the next part of our research paper, which is the outline, and we are very quickly making our way through this paper. The outline is your last big step. It's really the crux of the whole thing between all of your prep work and moving towards actually writing the paper. Once you have this outline, the rest of it is actually super smooth and super easy. So we're going to make today quick. I think it's really straightforward, and I think you're going to appreciate the resources I'm giving you. And so let's get started. I'm going to go over here and share my screen. And as usual, we'll start with the slideshow. On this blue slide, you've got the screencast that you're looking at right now. You've got a sample, and then you've got a link to the Schoology assignment. There's no instruction sheet for this one because there's not really any instructions except to fill out the outline. So we actually, instead of a outline, we actually do a graphic organizer. So when you click on the Schoology assignment, it's going to take you out to here. Your document is going to look like this. So when you pull it up, you're going to see there's space here to write your name. And then it walks you through basically what you need in the entire paper. The one important thing is that this should be filled with complete sentences because these are going to be written in your paper, and this is your step towards that. So make sure you actually write it out so that I, as the reader, can follow kind of what you're doing. And if you scroll kind of quickly through here, you're actually going to see there is room for each paragraph. So there's a couple of questions that are going to prompt you through the intro. Then there's your first main point, your second main point, and your third main point. Those main points are based on the research questions that you came up with. Basically, you can see that your topic sentence is going to say, the next thing I learned is, and then you're going to include a sentence about whatever one of your questions was. And then you'll have room to develop that through this sort of step-by-step process. And then finally, for the conclusion, very similar to the introduction, I kind of walk you through what you can talk about. And the goal is that you're filling in each of these little blocks, and then they're ultimately going to turn into paragraphs in your final paper. So this is your doc. This is what it's going to look like. As you can see, it is pretty intense. This is actually the biggest, most intense part of the process, because it is sort of the step leading into the actual writing of the paper. This is where it all starts to kind of congeal together. Now, to help you out with this, I've given you an example. So I have actually created this. I chose like a totally different topic for this. So, I'm explaining why I chose this topic. For this example, I chose social media and group polarization. So I explained why I chose this topic, a couple sentences. I explained how this topic connects to me, and I explained why it's an important topic to study. You can see that all of my sentences here start sort of explaining an answer to the question. Your last sentence can actually be set up just like this. For my inquiry project, I wanted to learn this. All right, that's like your basic research question. Then I move into my main points. And so I start off by saying this was one of my research questions. The first thing I learned is that polarization has been around longer than the internet, but the internet makes it worse. And so I learned a couple of things about that. And so that's why I have point 1 and point 2. So consider reading this like this. Point 1, and then the evidence and a quote to back it up, and then an explanation. Point 2, evidence, which is a quote to back it up, and then an explanation. And then finally, I have a transition sentence. So first I say people get more polarized when they're surrounded by other people with the same viewpoints. And then I explain the study that was concluded. When I put my quote in here, I highlighted it. And please do so for you guys as well. That's really important because it helps you kind of see the amount of your paper that is from sources versus the amount that is you. And that can really help us see like, okay, yeah, this is great, but all you've done is paste in a bunch of source material. And then I responded to it. I talked about this study and what happened, and then I said the result was group polarization. People became more extreme in their beliefs after they were surrounded by others who believed the same thing. They were less willing to listen to people with opposing views. The internet makes this phenomenon worse because its algorithms show us only things we think we'll like, which are mostly things we already agree with. And then I have another quote to back that up. Now, these are both from the same source, and that very well may be the way yours works out too. If you have one source that kind of answers one research question, it makes sense that you might get 2 quotes. You're probably not going to use more than 2 quotes in your paper. And obviously, this one's a little bit long, so when it comes to my actual paper, I might end up paraphrasing some of it. And then I have an explanation that why this is a problem. I'm not going to read my entire sample to you. You can certainly read that yourself, but I would definitely encourage you to read the sample because it helps you kind of see how we go from one idea to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And then I wrap it up with this transition paragraph. And then I start over with another main point. Again, remember the main points come from my research questions. So the next thing I learned is how confirmation bias is the psychological factor behind polarization. And once again, I have sort of the first point I make about that, which is defining confirmation bias, and then a quote to back that up. Your quotes are really only going to show up here in this middle bar. The explanation, that's all you. Your points, that's all you. You have to surround your evidence, you have to surround your research with information that you have to say about it. That's the point of research. That's the point of inquiry. You're finding this information, but what did you learn from it? And then my main point number 3, I learned how mob psychology can be a cause and an effect of group polarization. And then finally, the overall connections between my learning. Why does it matter? All right, and that's it. It is a lot of work. It's a lot of thinking. This is definitely the hardest part of your paper. So please, if you want to talk anything through, if you get to a point where you're like, oh, I don't know what to write, reach out. I'm here. I can talk to you. We can Zoom just like this on a video chat, and I can help you out. That's what I'm here for. Okay. All right. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good day.